Right, I hope I'm live. I'm back on StreamYards. It's Sunday, which means Sunday news roundup. I'm going to make sure I'm live, so just bear with me, because I don't trust things. I've got to. Yeah, did you hear that? Yes, I am live. Right. So, seeing as we're live, let's just throw up the intros and get on with it, as Martin is going to say right now.
You just throw up the title and get on with it.
Right, I'm back. So, hey up, it's Steve from Old Yorkshire Geek, and it's Sunday. It's the 26th of February, I think. Yes, it is. So I've got some news items for us to look at. I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't read the articles. I've just, what's the word? I've just seen the titles and thought, that looks interesting. So let's have a read. It's a voyage of discovery. So let's get this in. Where are we? There we go. Right. Star Wars: The Mandalorian star shocked by character's season 3 return. Is that big enough? Can you see it? Shall we make it a bit bigger? I'm going the wrong way. I'm using the wrong bloody window. I'm stupid. Hey. Wrong way. See, it's gone out of bloody full screen now, hasn't it? See, I'm trying to be all professional. Trying to be all professional. These! Oh. Right. You try to be clever and smart, don't you? And it doesn't work. Right. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was released in theatres last week. What's that got to do with this? I don't know. And it features many returning stars from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as some franchise newcomers. Not saying it. I'll wait till it appears on Disney+. One such fresh face is Katie O'Brien, who plays Gentora, a quantum realm freedom fighter. You may have recognised her from some television appearances, including playing a comms officer in 4 episodes of the second season of Star Wars: The Mandalorian. The third season. Oh yeah, I think I know who they mean. The third season of the beloved Disney Plus show debuts next week, and you can expect to see O'Brien's character back again. In fact, she recently told Collider that she was shocked to be returning to the role. I think if it's who I think it is, there are a lot of people wondering who this character is going to be. Is it going to be somebody important? And it turned out I don't think it was going to be. A complete surprise, quote, a complete surprise. The thing about The Mandalorian is you never know. Hang on, let's make sure we're not getting any comments. Of course not, because there's probably nobody watching. Anyway, never mind. The thing about The Mandalorian is you never know what's going to happen. They have you read lines several different ways, like, okay, so this one may be you're a dog at heart. Laughs. This one, maybe you're evil, maybe you're good. So they just have you read it several ways. And when you see the final product, you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's my character now. So how do you read it if you're a dog at heart? You read it like a Scooby-Doo voice. This is why I'm not an actor, you see. I'll be going, rare, Raggy. They're so secretive, you'll never know what's going on. Never. And I'm just very grateful that I'm always able and ready to take the call, and they tend to be really flexible as well. O'Brien added, it's so hard to come up with a backstory when no one knows what where you're going. Laughs. Or at least no one will tell you. So I kind of just use the circumstances. I kind of used, what's your role? What's the purpose of the scene? What you need to do and what needs to be done? What does the other actor need or actress? I'm gonna carry on making that distinction. And then let them kind of take what performance they want. It's hard. O'Brien recently spoke with comicbook.com. By the way, this is from comicbook.com. As usual, the links will appear in the description, and we can't see it because it's not there. But don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell. And I'm also on Rumble, or this will be, when I can download it and upload it to Rumble. I'm also on Rumble and Odyssey and Anchor.fm, Spotify, Amazon Music Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Links are in the description. They're in there now. And also links for my 2 books. There we go. Silent Predator. Hang on, can you see me? Hang on, let's make myself big again. There we go. Silent Predator. That's a horror novella. That's a little a thin one. A horror novella. Bit of fun. And an even bigger, thicker bit of fun is Mercury Rapids by me. That's my name. If you didn't know, we are not alone. You can guess what that's about. It's a light-hearted action adventure. It's just a bit of fun, same as the other one. Right, where were we? Right. O'Brien recently spoke with comicbook.com's Jenna Anderson about appearing in multiple major franchises. It definitely helps to be able to work with a blue screen and to be able to pretend things there that aren't, O'Brien explained. I think that's one of the more difficult things that we have to deal with special effects technology now. Oh, excuse me. I have to have a drink. Not a cup of tea. It's Sunday. And yes, it's Yorkshire tea. That's a brand in the UK, Yorkshire tea. Where were we? That was really helpful. Trying to understand this world that they've built in a very short period of time is also really helpful. I think Black Lightning was the most difficult because I was just given a bunch of sci-fi jargon. That was a series, wasn't it? But on Netflix, I can't remember. I saw the first episode, and I didn't dislike it, but I just couldn't be bothered watching anymore. So there you go. I think Black Lightning was the most difficult because I was just given a bunch of sci-fi jargon that some days I would have a few hours to have 4 pages ready to shoot. So that was solid prep for this. It's another reason why I couldn't be an actor. I have no memory whatsoever. I won't be able to memorize lines. Is my camera a bit... is it dropping down a bit? There we go. Whatever. Right. Where were we? O'Brien also talked about her role in The Mandalorian, which included episodes that were directed by Quantumania's Peyton Reed. I've always been a Marvel fan, O'Brien revealed. Growing up, my brother and I will watch Saturday morning cartoons, X-Men, Spider-Man. We were there every day. So I feel like everyone wants to be in a Marvel movie. They're really excited about it. It's epic. It's an adventure. You get to do crazy, fun, quirky characters. When I found out it was Ant-Man, because I had no idea what I was auditioning for, I was like, oh, that's Peyton. That's Peyton's property. By the way, Ant-Man, I first encountered Ant-Man. Yes, technically it was in a Marvel comic, but not, a Marvel Universe comic. The first time I encountered Ant-Man was in the pages of Doctor Who Weekly. Remember, Doctor Who had a comic here in the UK. I don't know about elsewhere in the world. That had Doctor Who comic strips drawn by the great Dave Gibbons. But that's where I first encountered Ant-Man. He had a strip in there, and I really enjoyed it. But that's by the by. When I found out it was Ant-Man, because I had no idea what I was auditioning for, I was like, oh, that's Peyton. That's Peyton's property. Should have been Edgar Wright's, really, but never mind. He directs that, and I work with him in Mandalorian, and he was an amazing director. He's so fun to work with. He has just good vibes on set all day, low stress. It's awesome. And then when I met with him, and he described Gentora as this Red Sonja, Conan the Barbarian, just epic baddie, I was like, yes, 100%. I think she's the only character in the MCU that I really wanted to play. Well, you would say that, wouldn't you? I mean, was like, it was a dream role for sure. That's it. So there we go. So that's the first story. Right. We'll go back to me. There we go. Back to me, because I've got to go over here and fiddle with things now and press buttons. Go to the next story. Oh, go away, you. Right. Right. Next story. The seamless transitions. Only trouble with it, this camera thing, you can see too much of me left and right. I need to be in 4:3, not widescreen, because you can see all me CD cases there, and the back of me telly there. That's probably all covered in dust. And then over there you can see me. Where are we? There we are. There. Hang on, let's go back a bit. There. That's me. That's my mantelpiece with me clock on and my globe. That's got a dragon in there. That's actually Aiden's. If I duck down. never mind. There, you can just see a bit of it there. That's a globe with the USS Enterprise in. That was a Christmas present. There's the wall clock that I can't. It's not working at the moment. It does work, but I've stopped it because it's really loud at ticking. So it's got a big pendulum in there, and it ticks really loud. So you just all the way through the video, you'd hear tick, 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 and it'd get on your nerves. As if my voice doesn't get on your nerves to start with. That's a painting I did. A bit like a what's his face? Bob Ross, a bit like a Bob Ross painting, inspired by him. You can't really see it very well, but never mind. And up there, this is one of my shelves behind. Hang on, let's use my other hand. Behind my soundbar, there, up there, you've got a Stargate there. There, got a Stargate there, a Star Trek plate. Where are we? Going the wrong way. Damn, I'm rubbish at this, aren't I? There's some autographs, some Star Trek comics, and a man-eating plant. That's Aiden's. Oh, and then a painting there that were done by The Art of Fish. Check him out on Facebook and other places. Instagram, The Art of Fish. He does some great acrylic paintings. And what else have we got? Oh, we've got another painting there that was done for me by my nephew, Cal, who's a really good artist. That's Luke's X-wing in the swamp on Dagobah. What else have we got? What's that one? Oh, some Star Wars stamps, a James Bond, film thing there, and just some stuff on the wall. There we go. Oh, that's a quick tour. Oh, that up there. Where are we? Up there. That's an autograph. Dave Prowse's autograph. My mum got me that for Christmas, like a couple of years before she passed away. So that's cherished. Right, that's a quick trip around my screen. So we're going to the next story. Right, here we go. This is from Screen Rant. I think there's several Screen Rant stories this week because Screen Rant are everywhere, aren't they? They're omnipresent. Are they the largest website for like geeky stuff? I don't know, but they seem to be everywhere. They must be making money. Why a classic Doctor Who star is envious of the modern companions. Classic Doctor Who star Carol Ann Ford. Just remember, it's not just a classic Doctor Who star and a classic companion. She was the first. Explains why she's envious of modern companions compared to her own experience on the show. But remember, she was in like in 1960s, 1963 when it started. And there she is. And there's Rose, played by whoever plays Rose. My memory with names, as soon as I start this, I can never remember names. Carol Ann Ford opens up about her time as part of the Doctor Who cast, explaining why she's envious of the modern companions compared to her own experience during the classic era. Sorry, I said cast, didn't I? I should enunciate in the King's English. Cast. Ford portrayed Susan Foreman, granddaughter and the first companion of William Hartnell's first Doctor. Yes, he was the first Doctor. There wasn't a Doctor before William Hartnell. He was the first Doctor. And debuted, never mind all this timeless children nonsense, that were a lie. And debuted in the sci-fi series pilot An Unearthly Child, which is really, really good. There's something about it. I mean, afterwards it kind of goes into different areas, but that first episode is there's something about it. It is like watching like a Quatermass film or something like that. There's something a bit of grit to it, Anyway. Alongside Hartnell, as well as William Russell and Jacqueline Hill, who portrayed teachers Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright, Ford's character faced the Daleks, prehistoric cavemen, and French revolutionaries, and was shrunk to the size of an insect during their adventures in the TARDIS. With growing hopes to see Susan return to Doctor Who in the show's revived era, Ford opened up about her time as part of the classic cast in seasons 1 and 2 to Radio Times, admitting that she felt that Susan's writing left much to be desired. The star explained that she was jealous upon seeing Billie Piper's Rose Tyler. That's Billie Piper. Seeing Billie Piper's Rose Tyler when the show returned in 2005 due to the character having a more active role in the series. But it was a different time. Check out Ford's full explanation below. And here we go. Quote. They didn't use any of these things, which is a shame. She could have been a much broader personality, a much more interesting personality. They wanted her to identify as the girl next door, so all the interesting I think the interesting things, anyway, that I was trying to put into it were all eliminated after the first episode. As I said, the first episode was kind of gritty. And she did come to the fore, showing how clever she was and stuff, which was a shame. I have moments of envy. I could have done all sorts of stunts. I was very fit. When I saw Billie Piper doing that incredible thing she did, swinging across on ropes above a fiery pit in the 2005 episode Rose, I thought, that's not fair. I could have done that. But in 1963, on BBC TV, they wouldn't have you swinging over fiery pits. There were so many things I kept thinking, that's not fair. Why did they get the chance to do that and not me? I could have broken the mold. Well, he didn't. Though fellow First Doctor companion actor Russell returned to Doctor Who in 2022 to reprise Ian Chesterton, Ford has not returned to the series since 1993. Ford's last appearance during her initial tenure was in the season 2 episode The Dalek Invasion of Earth, where the Doctor left her in 22nd century London to start a life with freedom fighter David Campbell, Peter Fraser, after repelling the Dalek occupation. Ford returned in the 25th anniversary special, The Five Doctors. I love that one, it's really good. Reuniting with her grandfather's first incarnation, but played by somebody else, because William Hartnell had passed on by then. With her grandfather's first incarnation in the Death Zone on Gallifrey. This is before being one of the companions dragged into Rogue, Time Lord, the Ranis, Kato Mara, Time Loop in the 1993 Children in Need special, Dimensions in Time. While Ford has yet to return on screen, she has reprised the role of Susan across Big Finish's Doctor Who audio drama ranges, exploring the character's later life. Susan reunited with the Doctor's 8th incarnation, Paul McGann, in the 2009 audio drama An Earthly Child. See what they did there? Revealing she had her own child with David named Alex Campbell, Jake McGann. Related to Paul McGann? Probably, I don't know. Susan's experiences during the Time War would also be explored in the 2020 box set Susan's War, as she returned to Gallifrey to fight the Daleks once more, despite the Doctor's intervention. Oh, I thought we'd done then. And there's a clip. They're always showing David Tennant's return. Why did his clothes change? I don't know. Because David probably says, I'm not wearing that silly bloody thing that what's-her-face wore. Probably said in Scottish, I'm not wearing that silly bloody thing that Jodie Whittaker wore. Aye, nay. That was my impression of David Tennant. Top notch, eh? As one of the Doctor's few relatives, there has been anticipation for Susan to make an on-screen Doctor Who return. Ford originally left the series due to Susan's limited writing, giving her little development or role in the serials. As such, a modern on-screen return could address many of the star's concerns, giving Susan a more impactful role in the modern era. We'll see. But yes, she's coming back, isn't she, I think? I think she is. Have I just read that? Probably. But yeah, that's interesting. But she shouldn't be jealous. She's well remembered, and she's still looking well, even though she's getting on a bit now, obviously. But what's that? Go away. Hide. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what they do with her. Right, let's get me back up, and I can move on to the next article. I've pressed the wrong button again because I'm stupid. There we go. I'm such a dolt. I am a proper dolt. By the way, this is just me intros playing on a loop. I usually put YouTube videos up, but been getting a lot of adverts on them recently, and so that's annoying. And I'm not paying for YouTube Premium because I'm tight. Right, next story. Where are we? There we go. William Shatner thought that timing was the reason for Star Trek's cancellation. And there he is. And there's Mr. Scott. And there's George Takei, his arch nemesis. This must be from Balance of Terror, because that's Lieutenant Styles. Yeah. I think that's the only episode we saw him in. And I suspect, I don't know if it's true or not, maybe it says it in the novels, I don't know, but I think he's the Styles that becomes captain of the Excelsior in Star Trek 3. The NX-2000 Excelsior. That's what I think, but I don't know. That might not be true. Right. As Captain James T. Kirk on the original iconic Star Trek TV series, William Shatner took the helm of the Federation starship USS Enterprise to pilot the show through 3 seasons on NBC and an animated series, 2 seasons of that, featuring crewmates including Mr. Spock, Lieutenant Commander Spock. Oh, was he a full commander? No, I think he was Lieutenant Commander. Leonard Nimoy, Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy, DeForest Kelly. No, I think he was a full commander, wasn't he, Mr. Spock? Bones were a lieutenant commander, wasn't he? When we see him in his uniform with his, his they have stripes on the sleeve, don't they? To denote rank. Lieutenant Nyota Uhura, Nichelle Nichols. We didn't find out her name until when was it now? It might have been in the Star Trek novelisation for the motion picture, maybe. I can't actually remember. But I don't think it was said on screen until maybe J.J. Abrams, Star Trek 2009. I think that was the first time her name was said on screen, I think. And others, the series launched viewers into an unexplored galaxy of alien races, off-world cultures, and unearthly creatures. Powered by storylines that balanced its modest special effects and unabashed affinity for futuristic whiz-bangery with progressive cultural commentary, the show was unafraid to push racial and other societal boundaries of its era, eventually constituting a richly expansive entertainment universe. The original Star Trek would spawn 11 TV series, 13 feature films, 3 companion series, and countless novels, comic books, role-playing and video games, podcasts, and related Trekkie content, or Trekker content, and collectibles. While it would eventually go on to generate one of the most influential and profitable science fiction franchises ever created, not anymore. The original Star Trek TV series was summarily cancelled after its brief 3-season run, and William Shatner felt he knew why. And there's another shot of Mr. Spock and Lieutenant Uhura looking at the view screen, probably from Balance of Terror again. I don't know. First pitched by creator Gene Roddenberry in the early 60s as a sort of wagon train to the stars, a pilot episode of Star Trek titled The Cage was shot in 1964. And I think The Cage is the best science fiction movie of the 60s. I do. I think it's better than 2001. I do. I think it's brilliant. Robert Marbinet won't agree. He for some reason, he doesn't like The Cage as a standalone episode. He just wants to in the menagerie. They cut it up and put it in the menagerie, didn't they? The two episode, the 2-parter from season 1. But as a standalone episode, I think it's amazing. I do. Anyway, the show landed on NBC's broadcast lineup when a second pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, aired in April of 1966. Oh, by the way, The Cage didn't have Captain Kirk in it. It was Captain Pike in charge of the Enterprise, with Mr. Spock as just a science officer. Who smiles in it? And everyone's, he smiles in it. And the first officer was Number One, who we later learn in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but in the novels is Una Chin Riley. But she's a lieutenant in The Cage. But I think in Strange New Worlds, I think she's been promoted. I think she's a commander or a lieutenant commander. I think, but I could be wrong. But then again, but that was rejected famously for being too cerebral. Lots of fighting in it. I don't know why it's too cerebral, because it's about the power of the mind. So they did the second pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, which again is about the power of the mind, but somehow that got accepted because it had a fist fight in it. And but that had William Shatner as Captain Kirk, and Mr. Spock was promoted to first officer, and we had Gary, what's his face, as the executive officer, which we don't see very often in Star Trek. Every now and again, it'll pop up. He's my executive officer, but we don't see it, on every starship. It seems like not every starship has an executive officer, which is like third in command, isn't it? I suppose Data would be closest to that in Next Generation, wouldn't it? Anyway, Where No Man Has Gone Before aired in April of 1966. Despite decent ratings at the start of its run, the show's numbers fell noticeably, and it was finally axed in 1969. Shatner after 3 seasons. Shatner discussed the fate, and it only came back for like a third season, maybe a second season, I can't remember. But it only came back because of a fan letter writing campaign. Shatner discussed the fate of Star Trek with interviewer Bill Boggs, great name, while promoting the arrival of Star Trek the Motion Picture in theatres in 1979. Great film, it's just come out on 4K, get it. People say, oh, it's boring, Star Trek, the motionless picture. It's not, it's amazing. At the time, when I was 12 years old, I wasn't over impressed with it, but as I've matured, I have grown to appreciate it much, much more. Asked what it was that led to the show being cancelled, Shatner noted that the series underwent constant schedule changes, saying, if I recall correctly, it was moved around in the 3 years that we were on, and its final time slot was Friday at 10 o'clock in the evening. It was the death slot, or whatever they called it. Boggs joked that Shatner himself probably wasn't at home at that time of night, to which the actor replied, exactly. It's a graveyard slot, isn't it? So I think that our demise was hastened by our time slotting. As Shatner told USA Today in 2021, the end of Star Trek represented a low point in my life. But the actor added that the disappointment was temporary, saying, as life does sometimes, what is down comes up. And there we go. Yes, that's it did kind of get typecast, as did Leonard Nimoy. Because he famously wrote a book, didn't he, called I Am Not Spock? And then wrote a sequel to that called I Am Spock. But James T. Kirk, William Shatner did go on to appear in other things. He was in The $6 Million Man and Columbo and T.J. Hooker and all this other stuff. So he didn't do too badly. Right. And they were in films as well, wasn't he? What were it? Terror. Is it Terror at 30,000 feet? They were in that, wasn't it? It was something like that. About like a demon-possessed plane. Great film. Look it up. Anyway. Oh, they were in Devil's Reign as well, wasn't he? Alongside Ernest Borgnine, that horror film. Where they all melt at the end. Spoilers. Yeah, we're in that as well. Right, let's get me back up big while I adjust. Now then, I've got to get this right, haven't I? Got to get this right while I go to the next story. There we go. Handle that. Yeah, I did it this time. Next story. Off we jolly well go. Star Wars Marvel announces new Mandalorian series. This is from comicbook.com. Soon fans will be jumping back into the world of Star Wars The Mandalorian with the much anticipated, or as it says there, antiquated, third season, March the 1st. That comes on. Oh, I've got a Mandalorian t-shirt on. Have you noticed? There we go. See on my fat belly. But for those who want to relive the series' second season, you are in luck. Marvel has announced Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 2, which will be an 8-issue adaptation of the show's sophomore season. That's an American word. I know it's not, but Americans love that word, don't they? It will kick things off with Chapter 9, The Marshal, the famous episode that introduced fans to Marshal Cobb Vanth. And from there, each issue will adapt one episode from the season. You can check out a preview of the issue's awesome covers starting on the next slide. But what? What's that supposed to mean? Well, this a PowerPoint presentation. Next slide, please. Adapting The Mandalorian has been a pure treat, Barnes tells StarWars.com. Who the hell's Barnes? Oh, there, Rodney Barnes, sorry. Sorry, I've missed a bit out, haven't I? Continuing their work from Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 1, writer Rodney Barnes and artist George Jonti, apologies, are returning for the series. Jonti, or is it Gianti? I don't know. Or Gianti? I don't know. I say Jonti. Will be taken on the series' first issue, and then artist Steve Cummings, Star Wars Hidden Empire, will take over for the remaining 7 issues. The series is set to release later this year, but no exact date was given them. Adapting The Mandalorian has been a pure treat, Barnes tells StarWars.com. The series embodies all aspects of the Star Wars universe, the myth, the mystery, and spectacle that made me fall in love with it so long ago. It's an honour to be part of this project. They're going to say that out. I am thrilled to be able to be part of the world of the Mandalorian and get to draw some of his adventures, adds Cummings. The lone wolf and cub with the Old West vibe of the show has me excited to pick up my pencil every day and dive in. You can find the synopsis for Star Wars, The Mandalorian Season 2, below. Here we go. The journeys of the Mandalorian through the Star Wars galaxy continue. Or should we do it in the voiceover voice? The journeys of the Mandalorian through the Star Wars galaxy continue. Now, once the lone bounty hunter Din Djarin has reunited with Grogu, what's that supposed to mean? Once a lone bounty hunter, Din Djarin has reunited with Grogu, but that's for season 3, isn't it? Because they separated at the end of season 2, didn't they? So they got that wrong for a start. Meanwhile, the New Republic struggles to lead the galaxy away from its dark history. The Mandalorian will cross paths with old allies and make new enemies as he and Grogu continue their journey together. Oh no, though, yes, he was reunited in season. No, hang on, I'm confused now. Season 2. No, Grogu were taken, wasn't it? Wasn't Grogu taken at the end of season 1 by Moff Gideon? Yes, he was, wasn't he? So yes, so he does get reunited, doesn't he, with Grogu? Fair enough. That's it. It's a while since I've seen season 2. Anyway, you can check out the full preview of Star Wars: The Mandalorian season 2 starting on the next slide. The next slide again. And you can watch The Mandalorian season 3 when it hits Disney Plus on March the 1st. Will you be picking up the new season 2 adaptation? Let us know in the comments, or as always, you can talk all things comics, Star Wars and Marvel with me on Twitter at Matt Aguilar CB. Main covers. There you go, there's the main cover. It's okay. It's nice art, is that, isn't it? Wonder what it looks like inside, though. Grogu looks a bit fat there, doesn't he? He's been eating a lot of those eggs and stuff, hasn't he? And frogs. Looks a bit puffy face there. Cobb Vanth variant cover. See, that's nice artwork. Mando variant cover. That's old school. That's old school comic book art. That's what I want to see. That's good stuff. I like that one. That's my favourite one so far. Grogu variant cover. So slightly minimalistic, but it's nice. It's nice. Oh, there we go. That's it. But what's it like inside? The covers are always nicer than what's inside, aren't they? And I don't think, it's just a personal observation, that modern comic book art is generally as good as it used to be. I mean, I read the first 3 issues of a Star Trek one, the Star Trek 2022 comic series from IDW. I think the art in that is terrible. It's like they just rattled it off in an afternoon. There's no detail. It's just lines and shapes just coloured in, and I think it's rubbish. But maybe this is better. Maybe this is better. Right. So there you go. New Star Wars: The Mandalorian season 2 is in comic book form. I used to have all the original Star Wars, Marvel Star Wars comics. I used to get them, and they were cool. Obviously, of course, they were drawn a lot of the time before anybody knew what the characters looked like. They were given a description of what things were like, and the artists had to do the best with their imagination. And sometimes what was in the comic was wildly different to what ended up on screen. But it was still fun and it was cool. Right, go back to me while I do changing things around. Because I'm a professional, mate. I'm a professional. We're going to the next story. Right, another back with Star Wars again. Where are we? There we are. Empire Strikes Back isn't the best Star Wars movie. It's Rogue One. Shock horror. But you know what? I actually agree with that, because Rogue One is my favourite Star Wars film. Sue me. This is from Giant Freaking Robots. So a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, let's just forget it. It's a load of rubbish." Giant Freaking Robots, like we got this covered of geek news. But there you go. And there's the cast of Rogue One, with, of course, English accented female brunette. Because Kathleen Kennedy's always got to have them in her Star Wars, and then all the others. And there's obviously Cassian Andor, who got his own series for some reason, but I did enjoy it. For over 30 years, Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back was held as the best Star Wars movie of all. With its darker plot and focus on characterization, the film is still one of the greatest sequels in movie history. And yeah, it is. It's really good. But I've got to admit, I still like Episode 4. Well, I still like Star Wars more than The Empire Strikes Back. But I do love The Empire Strikes Back. I think my favourite scene in The Empire Strikes Back is the asteroid field chase. It's cool, is that? Anyway, but it's no longer the best of the franchise, in your opinion. That title now belongs to Rogue One, despite the Rotten Tomatoes scores. By shifting the focus away from Jedi and onto regular soldiers in the battle against the Empire, Rogue One was our first look at the real scope and cost of the rebellion. Yes, I agree, it was. Although the Jedi and the Force did get a mention, and we had the Chirrut whatever they call him, saying, the Force is with me, I'm with the Force, and all that. And I think he was a bit of a Force user, because although he was blind, he could still see to shoot his crossbow thing, or his bow, whatever it was, couldn't he? So I think he was slightly Force sensitive. That's my opinion. Following Jyn Erso, Felicity Jones, the daughter of Galen Erso, Mads Mikkelsen, in a rare English language role as a good guy. We're in Clash of the Titans as a good guy in that as well, wasn't he? Rescued from an Imperial camp by the Rebel Alliance because of a coded message her father sent, leads a small group to save Galen. Part of that group is Cassian Andor, Diego Luna, the first member of the Rebel Alliance we ever see to receive a kill order on the screen. In fact, his introduction scene involves shooting a man. Yes, it does, an innocent man, which is notable because of how Han Solo's shooting was edited in subsequent re-releases of A New Hope. He killed Daniel. I forgot the name of the actor, but he killed that character, didn't he, on that moon thing or asteroid city place? I can't remember names. You know what I'm like. Because stormtroopers were coming, and the only way out was to climb up over this wall thing, and he'd broken his arm or something. And the character that gets shot, so he just sacrifices him, shoots him, executes him, and legs it. Anyway, Rogue One is the first time we see this side of the Rebel Alliance as anything less than the perfect paragon of all that is good and just in the universe. The story of Rogue One takes place just before A New Hope, explaining how the Death Star plans were received, which means going into the film, everyone knew how it would be for the characters, none of whom appeared in the original trilogy. To some people, knowing everyone is going to die would dim the excitement of the film, but to me, that made it even better. By the way, me is Jonathan Klotz. Unfortunate name. But anyway, I bet he had fun at school. Where were we? To make it made it even better. Every Star Wars film includes characters with so thick plot armor that even when they should be killed off to enhance the narrative, they survive anyway. This lack of plot armor helps make Rogue One the best Star Wars movie. The incredible cast of Ben Mendelsohn, Donnie Yen, Alan Tudyk, the unfortunate name, Riz Ahmed, Yang Wen, and Forrest Whitaker playing Saw Gerrera for the first time in live action not only play characters that are purposely imperfect and flawed, but they all bring some of the best performances ever to the long-running franchise. By the way, I liked Saw Gerrera's introduction when we see Riz Ahmed's character. He sees that Saw Gerrera needs a respirator, but not all the time, but it's got to breathe on it every now and again, and it makes the same sound as Darth Vader's respirator. I thought that was cool. Gone is the belief that the Rebel Alliance is all good people, and instead there's the reality that it's partly filled with scoundrels and scavengers, former Imperial officers and murderers trying to make a buck. And basically, they were terrorists, weren't they, basically. Riz Ahmed's Rook, a former Imperial pilot, defects not because of any hope for a better future, but to save his own skin. I don't know. That's not really true, I don't think, because he didn't agree with what the Empire were doing, and he wanted to do the right thing, didn't he? So that's what he did it for. Mon Mothma in this film doesn't talk about hope and the future. She discreetly orders Andor to execute Jin's father for being too dangerous to let live. That's not true either. It was the general that gave the order. I think Mon Mothma just wanted Galen extracting and bringing back. But it was the general, I think, that gave the order to kill Galen Erso. Instead of being depressing, this breakdown of the good guys from the original trilogy is refreshing. The climatic final battle on Scarif is fantastically shot, resembling Black Hawk Down more than Return of the Jedi, adding to the raw intensity and high stakes of the doomed conflict. When the first of our heroes is killed off brutally, it's jarring to the audience. And I think that's K2SO, I think, isn't it? But then it's which is the saddest of all the deaths that we see. Climb. But then it's followed by heroic sacrifice after heroic sacrifice. Never before had Star Wars shown us individuals dying on this level in support of the war effort. They're all running out saying, for Jeddah, because obviously the Death Star destroyed Jeddah City, didn't it? And people say it's boring. Don't understand that. But in addition, Rogue One was such a hit with fans that Andor was created for Disney+. In his series, Diego Luna's character is shown working his way into the Rebel Alliance and all of the dirty deeds and even dirtier characters he encounters. One of the best streaming series is a spin-off of the best Star Wars movie, and it's no surprise that each one treats viewers to a much darker side of the universe than even The Mandalorian. With a diverse cast of characters, that word, but it's true, that each has their motivation and reason for being included, the complete lack of plot armor ensuring anyone can die at any time, and the most nuanced take yet on the Rebel versus Empire dynamic, Rogue One is far and away the best Star Wars movie of all time. And I agree, I love Rogue One. The only thing I don't like about it is Bor Gullet. I don't like that. And that silly creature that they bring in to read Rook's mind to see if he's telling the truth. I thought that was stupid. I mean, why didn't they just hook him up to some sort of lie detector droid? They could have done that, couldn't they? That would have made more sense. But apart from that, I think it's amazing. I love Rogue One. In fact, I might watch it later. Again, because it's cool. And like I said, the characters are nuanced. They're not perfect. Even her, Gina, so even she's not perfect. Oh, pardon me, I'm burping. But there we go. So I agree with that. Everybody else doesn't, apart from Jonathan Klotz. Right, let's move on. So we'll make me big again. Make me big again. That should be on a t-shirt. We're back to Screen Rant. Right, here we go. I'll put that full screen again. I'm trying to do it so that you don't see all my tabs and all that, information up there at the top of the screen. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going full screen on screen 2. There we go. Right, the Earth Romulan War is a Star Trek missed opportunity, but it wasn't going to be, was it? Because I think they were going to cover it in Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise. It's probably a clue as to what they're going to do in this article, because there's Jonathan Archer. And there's Mark Lenard as the Romulan commander in Balance of Terror, which we've seen in another article, haven't we? And there's the Centurion. So here we go. The Earth-Romulan War is a Star Trek missed opportunity. The Earth-Romulan War was an important backstory for Starfleet from as far back as the TOS era, the original series. But it's never been realised on screen in Star Trek. Although it's a fascinating bit of early Star Trek continuity, the war between the Romulan Empire and United Earth has never been realised on screen, representing a huge missed opportunity for the franchise. In Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 8, Balance of Terror, Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner, encounters the Romulans for the first time since the end of the Earth-Romulan War a century earlier. The episode explores prejudice, as despite a century having passed, certain Enterprise crew members are suspicious of Spock, Leonard Nimoy, due to his genetic similarities to the Romulans. That's Mr. Styles that we saw in the other article that I suggested maybe were the Captain Styles of the USS Excelsior, but I don't know. Star Trek Strange New Worlds revisited this when Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, attempted to outrun his tragic fate and inadvertently changed the original series' Balance of Terror. That was in the season 1 finale, which was bloody awful. I hated that episode. But apart from that, I quite enjoyed Strange New Worlds. Nate loved it. I loved it. Mostly because of all the hot chicks. Because there were. Captain Pike's crew, is surrounded by really attractive women. Which is not a bad thing, but it was the 60s. I know it's made now, but it's the original series era. So there were a lot of really attractive ladies on the original Enterprise with William Shatner, weren't there? Anyway, however, the Star Trek franchise itself has never properly explored this conflict from the Federation's history. Of course, it wasn't the Federation at the time; it was United Earth. The Federation came along later. Executive producers Manny Cotto and Brandon Braga told attendees of the annual Star Trek convention in Las Vegas in 2009 that had it not been cancelled, Star Trek Enterprise Season 5 would begin whispers of the Romulan War. Because in Season 4, they kind of were building up to it because they had those few episodes, didn't they, where it showed the races like the Andorians, Tellarites, humans, Vulcans coming together to foil that Romulan plot. Romulans were trying to take over Vulcan, trying to destabilize the region with their hologram ship that could make itself look like the ships of other races. They were stirring up trouble. But they did that in Season 4 of Enterprise, and so that was originally with the whispers of the Romulans. And remember, we saw Romulans in Season 2 in the episode Minefield of Enterprise. Season 2, the episode Minefield, which I did like the episode, but I didn't like that even at that time, the Romulans were using cloaking technology. They had cloaked birds of prey and they had cloaked mines. Didn't like that because in Balance of Terror, it's suggested that was the first time that they saw cloaking devices on Romulan ships. So that was a bit wrong. Anyway, while other attempts have been made to explore the war, have I read that? I don't know. It remains one of Star Trek's biggest missed opportunities. There we go. There we see Seela. How do you pronounce it? I pronounce it Seela, don't I? Denise Crosby, who was the daughter of Tasha Yar, with a Romulan. And there's Chris Pines. It is Chris Pine, isn't it? Yeah, Chris Pines, Captain Kirk from the JJ Treks. That noise. He's making noises outside. Always when I'm doing live shows. Unbelievable. After Enterprise was cancelled, attention turned to reviving the Star Trek movie franchise, a decision that would lead to rebooting the original series and establishing J.J. Abrams' Kelvin timeline, which is a big mistake. They're bloody awful films. Several projects were being considered prior to Abrams signing up for Star Trek. One of these movies centered around the Earth-Romulan War, written by Band of Brothers writer Eric Jenderson. The movie was set in the 6-year gap between Enterprise's penultimate episode, Terra Prime, and its finale, These Are the Voyagers. It didn't include any of the main Enterprise cast and instead introduced a group of young graduate cadets who were thrown into the early stages of the Earth-Romulan War. Yeah, that'd have been fun. I'm one of these few people that just dreads seeing, like, Starfleet Academy, the series, or the movie. Anyway, looking at the script, it's interesting to see the similarities between Jenderson's movie entitled Star Trek The Beginning and Star Trek 2009. Both movies feature Romulans as their central villains, and both movies featured a young officer with something to prove. Tiberius Chase, who, like Kirk and Spock, is paired with an older and wiser Vulcan foil, Ambassador Skal. That sounds crap. It was implied that Chase would be an ancestor of James T. Kirk, hence the Tiberius bit. And Jenderson had hopes for a trilogy of Star Trek movies focused on the war with the Romulan Star Empire. However, due to changes in corporate structure and incoming Paramount president Gail Berman, she related to Rick Berman, I don't know, opted for Abrams' pitch instead, nixing another attempt to explore this integral moment, or integral, in Star Trek history. Strange New Worlds could revisit the Earth Romulan War. And there's Anson Mount as Christopher Pike. Looking a bit grey there, isn't it? That's with the Discovery uniforms that they put in there. Oh, you can't see me mouse pointer. Never mind. And Captain Archer, Jonathan Archer. The current Star Trek show closest in the timeline to the Earth Romulan War is Strange New Worlds. Now that Pike has encountered the Romulans in an alternate future, Strange New Worlds can bend canon by sending Pike back into time to experience the war firsthand. You're just making that up. Given that the Strange New World Season 1 finale highlighted the universal importance of Kirk and Spock being together on the Enterprise during Balance of Terror, it would be interesting to go further back and explore just why the Earth-Romulan War casts a long shadow of the early days of Starfleet and the Federation. Well, they're saying that. Well, they can send Pike back in time. Well, then I'm going to say, why not send the Enterprise D back in time and they can remake the final countdown? That film where the USS Nimitz goes back to Pearl Harbor. So you've got F-15s, F-14s, I think it's F-15s, isn't it? F-15s taking down Japanese Zeros. But in this case, you'd have the Enterprise D taking on, Romulan birds of prey. That's just as reasonable as what they're suggesting. As long as James T. Kirk, Paul Wesley, and Spock, Ethan Peck aren't with Pike when he travels back, Star Trek canon will be kept largely intact by another Strange New Worlds Romulan time travel story. Don't do it. Perhaps Pike could find himself aboard the Enterprise NX-01, commanded by Captain Jonathan Archer, Scott Bakula. Scott Bakula. Sorry, that's off What We Do in the Shadows, isn't it? Because they think he's a vampire because he's called Bakula. Anyway, during another examination of what makes a good captain, alternatively, a Captain Archer show set during the Earth-Romulan War could be the perfect way to continue the story of Enterprise after its cancellation, fixing 2 Star Trek missed opportunities in 1. Pipe Dreams, son, that's what they are. I'm saying son. Who wrote this? Yeah, Mark Donaldson. Pipe Dreams, it's not going to happen. It'd be nice, but it's not going to happen. And I'm kind of dreading Strange New World Season 2. I think it's going to... I really enjoyed Season 1. But I think it's going to revert back to, old Kurtzman Trek crapness. Especially we've got this Lower Decks crossover, and I hate Lower Decks. So I'm dreading it. I'm genuinely dreading it. But luckily, Star Trek Picard Season 3 so far is okay. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's okay. Right, get me back up. I think that was it. I think that was the last story. I think. Let me have a look. Yes, it was. So what we'll do. How long have I been going? 52 minutes. Right, we'll go a little bit longer then. And I'll bring up my sci-fi news thingamabob. And we'll just have a look, shall we? So, how do I do this? How do we do this? So, I've just got my sci-fi news Google thing up. So, let's have a look and see if we just find any interesting news. There it is. You need to watch Steven Spielberg's most poorly timed sci-fi epic on HBO Max as soon as possible. Well, I'm guessing that's from that image, the thumbnail. How do I get my mouse pointer to show? Is there a way? Is it in settings? General. No, it's not in there. Camera. Mirror my camera. No, it's not that one. Layouts? No, I don't know. I don't know how you get to your mouse pointer to display. Never mind. Right, anyway. I'm guessing it's War of the Worlds, which, what an okay film, but not a great adaptation, I don't think. Plus, there weren't Martians, was there? There was something else, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense, but never mind. But we won't read that, sod it. Boring. Snyderverse, latest sci-fi news. Snyderverse stands keen to go to courtroom over Henry Cavill's Superman, as Ahsoka will get Anne what? I don't know. It's been months since Warner Bros. So I'm guessing they're wanting to get Henry Cavill back as Superman, which is fair enough. But I don't think he wants to now because he's busy, isn't he, with his Warhammer adaptation, isn't he? For Amazon. Sci-Fi Mag cuts contest submissions after finding 500 plus written by AI. Yeah, that was interesting. I saw that. I think it was something to do with Arthur C. Clarke. What it to do with that? Let's open link in new tab. Oh, see, I'm gonna have to do this now, aren't I? I'm gonna have to go back to me. And then I'm gonna have to. Oh, not that one. See, I'm making mistakes because I'm an idiot. Here we go. Let's have a read of this. Go away. Pop-ups. Pop-ups. Right. There we go. Sci-Fi Mag cuts contest submissions after finding 500 plus written by AI. In a story that they could have predicted in their own work, a science fiction magazine has asked people to stop sending stories generated by artificial intelligence in the latest sign of apps like ChatGPT gaining prominence. Clark's World, see all right, an award-winning sci-fi and fantasy publication based out of New Jersey, has temporarily cut off all submissions because they've gotten too many written by AI. The irony is not lost on the magazine, which has a robot for a mascot. Publisher and editor-in-chief Neil Clark is related, or is it just called that? So is it nothing to do with Arthur C. Clarke? Or is it just because he's called Clark? Or is he related to Arthur C. Clarke? I don't know. Cut everyone off on February 20th after he was able to tell hundreds of stories were not written by humans. By the time no human could write a story like this. By the time we closed on the 20th, around noon, we had received 700 legitimate submissions and 500 machine-written ones, Clark told NPR. Is that it? Yeah. So there you go. So AI is getting everywhere. The robot revolution is coming. It is, I'm telling you. We're all going to be plugged into pods and used as batteries before you know it. That's what's happening. Right, let's go back to the news list. As I said, I'll be putting the links for all these stories in the description. Later, after I go stop being live. Right. Where were we? Ninja Turtles sci-fi upgrades need to make a comeback, do they? I have no idea what you're talking about. The absolute best blah blah list. That one that we just read about. Let's move on. Escape from planet Omega 12 or Omega 12, depending where you are in the world, looks to bring animated adventure back to retro sci-fi. Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. I tried watching, I forgot what they call it, never mind, don't matter. There's like a classic sci-fi animated movie, and I thought it was crap. Is it Fantastic Planet? Yeah, I think it's Fantastic Planet, isn't it? Everybody says, oh, it's brilliant, amazing science fiction. Yeah, it might be, but it's just rubbish. Well, I thought it was. I didn't get through it. Let's put it that way. And there's heavy metal as well. I'm not a huge fan of heavy metal, the animated movie. I'm sorry, I'm just not. But Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin, I can watch that all day. Torchwood writer wants Doctor Who spin-off to return. Yeah, it'd be nice. I like Torchwood. It were good. It were good, the Torchwood. But we won't read that. Go on, let's read it. What the heck? We'll put that in a new tab, shall I say it? Right, it's going to have to make me big again. Oh, pressing the wrong button. There we go. Professional. I keep reiterating that, don't I? Right. Go away. No thanks. I was wanting you to sign up for stuff, aren't they? These websites. Right, we're off. We're off and running. We're at the races. Here we go. Torchwood writer. There's every chance Doctor Who spin-off could return. Torchwood writer Phil Ford has called for a comeback for the Doctor Who spin-off during Russell T Davies's second reign. Just remember, he's returning into later this year. He's returned already, but the Christmas episodes, I think, his return on screen. With David Tennant coming back, the returning showrunner who oversaw shows like Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures during his first run on the show. Did he oversee Class as well? I don't know. He was probably a producer. Has confirmed the return of spin-offs, but it's currently unclear what form they'll take. Torchwood originally ran from 2006 to 2011. And Ford, who has written for Doctor Who as well as both spin-offs, would love to see it back in action. I've always wanted to see more done with UNIT. I mean, they changed that, though, didn't they? It used to be the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, didn't it? But now it's called something else. Is it integrated or something like that? I can't remember. I've always wanted to see more done with UNIT. I've always thought there's stuff we could do with UNIT there, he said, speaking to radiotimes.com ahead of the release of his new Target book based on his 2009 episode, The Waters of Mars. And of course, I think there's every case for bringing back a version of Torchwood. But the thing about Doctor Who is the universe is so huge over all these years, over 60 years. Nearly 60 years. There's so many places you could go to develop spin-offs. No, it's 60 years this year, isn't it? But I honestly have no idea what is going on in the great man's mind, so we'll have to wait and find out. Go away. Asked if he thinks there's real scope for Torchwood to return, Ford said, I think there's every chance, even if it was going back in time to an earlier iteration of Torchwood, which in fact we did do in the show. But absolutely, I don't see why we couldn't do that. It's science fiction, it's Doctor Who. You could do all sorts of things, I'm sure will happen. As recently as last year, Eve Miles, who played Gwen Cooper, the yummy Eve Miles, who played Gwen Cooper in Torchwood, denied rumours of reboots, saying she hadn't been approached. However, she added that given the chance, she and Captain Jack Harkness actor John Barrowman would jump back into Gwen and Jack tomorrow. He's been cancelled though, hasn't he? Has he been uncancelled? I don't know. John Barrowman. Davis recently spoke out after it was heavily rumoured that following Doctor Who's new distribution deal with Disney Plus, more spin offs would be commissioned. Speaking about why it's the right time for him to return to Doctor Who, Davis told GQ, Gentleman's Quarterly, I thought, with no criticism whatsoever towards the people who were running it at the time, because they were running it within the BBC's measures, it was time for the next stage for Doctor Who. We haven't done yet. I thought the streaming platforms are ready. The spin-offs are ready. I always believed in spin-offs when I was there. I did Torchwood as a spin-off, the Sarah Jane Adventures as a spin-off, and Class. Those spin-offs declined when I left, and I can see why. And I very much left after 2008 when the money became scarce. I think that's fair enough for the public service broadcaster that the money is spent on other things. And there's a tweet. Ford first wrote the 2009 episode, The Waters of Mars, for Doctor Who, and he's returned to the terrifying story to write a novelisation for a series of Target books. It was great fun to go back there, he said. I don't think I'd actually watched it again since it was first broadcast, but I know a lot of people say how much they enjoyed it. It's not one of my favourites, to be honest. There you go. He added, I think the thing about the Waters of Mars is when we started talking about it, we always wanted it to be scary, and it really was. That's it. Right, there you go. So there you go. So maybe, could we see Torchwood in these spin-offs? Could it appear on Disney Plus? Don't know. Do we want it? Don't know. Oh, my mouse pointer is there. All right. Just noticed it there, look. Right, okay, it's very small, isn't it? Anyway, whatever. Right, so let's go back to the list. How long have we been going? We're gonna stop next. Where's my F11? F11. We'll do one more. We'll do one more. Hang on, let me go back. F11 again. F11 is the full screen button, in case you didn't know. Where were we? Right. Prison dimension trope in sci-fi explained. I hate prison things in sci-fi. Like Stargate and Star Trek and all these series, they always had to have prison episodes, didn't they? And I hate them. Where the crew gets trapped in an alien prison. Something I don't like. Maybe I was a prisoner in a past life, and I've just got this thing against prisons. But never mind. But Shawshank Redemption's great. That's got prisons, but it's not sci-fi. Or is it? AI. The wildest sci-fi movie on Netflix reveals a real-life ethical dilemma, does it? I don't know. Sorry to bother you. Never heard of it. Is it on Netflix? Elizabeth Olsen. Latest sci-fi news. Elizabeth Olsen confirms her MCU future, and this Last of Us Season 2 character already proves something or other. But that's Gossip Chimp, and if a site's called Gossip Chimp, I'm not going to go to it. But, you know, it's Elizabeth Olsen, and I'm a simp for her because I think she's gorgeous. That's that one about the AI thing. I think that's going to be it, isn't it? I think that's going to be it. Yeah. Shall we call it a draw? Shall we call it a draw? See, we got this covered. Doing that as well. Oh, they're saying Abby Anderson, the fandom. The Last of Us still has ways to go until the conclusion of its first season. Not that far. But the fandom is already dreading the introduction of Abby Anderson. Remember, spoilers, Abby is the one that kills off Joel in the Last of Us 2 game. Last of Us Part 2, which I've not played. I only played the first one once because it was just too stressful for me. Got some rubbish at games, basically. Right, we'll leave it there. We will leave it there. So I'll make myself big again. And I'll get rid of that. We shall leave it there for a Sunday. So thanks for watching. All the links for all these stories I'll put in the description. Any minute now when I go off air. So thanks for watching, and wherever you are in the universe, look after each other. Have a great Sunday, the rest of the day, and until next time. I always go over there, and the camera's there. I can bloody see it's there, and I always go over here with my thumb because I'm dopey, and I'm always looking at myself there instead of looking at the camera. Tell you, I'm not an actor, but then actors are told not to look at the camera. So maybe I am. Maybe I am Robert De Niro. I'll say they. Yeah, I'm still doing it. I'll say they. Oh, let me do my outro. Where the hell is it? Right, I'm going now. Bye.